One of everybody's fears, not only getting the performance appraisal, but from the manager's point of view, everybody doesn't like performance appraisals. The manager doesn't like it, you don't like it. And it could be for a variety of reasons, especially if there's a major issue to deal with or if there's a problem. It's problematic. So we're going to approach it in two ways about how to deal with performance appraisals. One is I'm going to take a look at what the manager should be doing, and then what you should be doing as a response to the manager if the manager's good or if the manager's not so good, if the manager is reasonable or if the manager is not so reasonable. So let's start with the manager. The manager should always focus on positives, no matter what. They could hate you. They should still start with, here's what you did well. I particularly like this contribution. I like that. I like the fact that you were able to master this. So it's got to be a positive contribution. We appreciate it. We're really pleased with that aspect of it. So again, start off with the positive. There's a good model for how we move from this positive to, let's say, corrective feedback. I'm trying to use every euphemism I can, but it's the negatives. It's the stuff that is problematic. If there is problematic stuff, there's always going to be something. But the major issue is, and this is the law of performance appraisals from the manager's side, no surprises. Nobody should ever get a surprise on a performance appraisal. It should never be the first time that the subordinate hears about this issue. And I've had a lot of clients and students in my history where they're shocked to hear that this thing has been going on for 6 months and nobody's spoken with them about it. So no surprises. We start again with the positives, and then we segue. Here's where you can do some improvement. Now, I have to repeat again. This is the good manager. This is not the negative manager or the manager who doesn't add it to a performance appraisal. So we have an issue with timeliness on a project. And the timeliness issue affects other people. So you have to talk about the results of the issue. So it affects the person who's working with you because it slows them up, it slows me up. It can create a problem for the organization, within the organization, or even the larger organization if you're working in a large organization. So it's got to be presented as, here's something you can work on, here's why it's a problem, and here's what the result of the problem. Now let's lay out an action plan. Action plan. I suggest this, and that. I also suggest we meet every other week or so, just to check in for 5 minutes. So you don't set it up and then all of a sudden it disappears and it just goes wafting out into the same place where it came from. So we have check-ins, excuse me. We make sure we absolutely stay on top of it, we fix it. But then the manager should say, but that's my suggestion. What's yours? Do you have any ideas? And you can go back and forth and then reiterate the check-in, what it's going to be about, how we stay on top of it. So what we have to do when we're doing the check-ins is that we have to also factor in what are the consequences here if this doesn't work out. And at the beginning, the consequence is always going to be, then we're going to have to figure out a more concrete plan to make this work. There's no threatened firing. That comes later if, 2 times later, the thing isn't working out. So for now, then we're going to have to take some other measures. And you don't have to sound ominous, but make it more structured. We have to employ, now we're switching. When I say we have to employ, we're switching to the other side, the person who's getting the performance appraisal. We have to employ great active listening skills. On second thought, both sides need to use active listening skills. This is important. So that's a whole huge course. That could take us a half day to go through how to really be a great listener. I'm just going to say it very fast. You're nodding, show you understand, and you're going, and you're taking it in. You're making sure that you're not looking over there and you're looking at the clock and you're not really making the connection here. You paraphrase, you say, okay, if I understand you correctly, you are saying that I need to fix up my timeliness issue and do some check-ins, and that it'll work better that way. So there's got to be connection. How do we respond to this very civilized, reasonable assessment? You're just going to nod. You're going to say, okay, I'm not sure that this particular aspect is a problem, and then you are prepared with concrete results. You have to think on your feet here, but you're also going to prepare for the performance appraisal with concretes. Examples of, they're going to have problems with this one project, so you'll say, here's what happened. You're not going to blame anybody. You're not going to blame them. You're just going to say, here's what could have gone better, and I agree with you. It needs to be fixed. So you take it in. You acknowledge that you need to work on it. Poof, we're at the performance appraisal. There may be a second item, there may be a third item, and if it's presented to you in a reasonable way, the way we outlined for management, then we have a good performance appraisal. When I teach this as a class, I have slides that always have pictures of Mr. Spock from Star Trek on it. I have it on about 7 straight slides, the same picture of Mr. Spock. I think he's going like that in it. And the implication is no emotion. No emotion whatsoever. If you get some praise, you can smile. But you're not going to get defensive. You're not going to fight back. You're not going to disagree. You're not going to get angry. There's nothing. It's like we're in a business context here. Emotion always escalates it and makes it too personal. This does not work. Now we get to the other side, the unfair appraisal. The guy or the woman who says to you, you didn't get that thing in on time, and you're sitting there thinking, no, you're right, I didn't have it on time. I had it early. What is he talking about? Or why is she complaining about this? So the issue is, how do I take that in? What do I do? Do I start arguing? No. Because the unfair appraisal was unlikely to be preceded by some praise and appreciation and the other stuff we talked about that are the hallmarks of a good manager. This person just starts out with I'm unhappy with this, and I don't like this, and I don't like this, and I don't like that. And you sit and you take it on, again, Mr. Spock, right? No emotion, no reaction. You take it in and you'll say, okay, I need to take this in and think about it. I need some time. How about if I figure this out and then we come back and reconvene and I come back with a plan and we address it and we fix it? Chances are a manager is not going to say, no, you can't think it out. You're going to say, I'm a little surprised by some of this, so I need to really get back to you and with a plan. And so you do. You come back with a plan. And you come back with some very, very neutral comments. This is verbal rebuttal. And that is, I don't agree with this part about what we talked about, and here's how I see that it happened. Here's how I see that it happened. So number 1, this happened. Number 2, this happened. Number 3, this happened. Number 4. There may have been some difficulty with my communication with the other person on the project, so here's how we could fix that. What do you think? And then the manager, chances are that this manager, the one who's not so good at this, is going to stick with the original story. Sorry, I don't agree with you. That's the way it was. I heard it from everybody. There's a big problem here. We need to fix it, or else we're going to have to take other corrective measures. Boom, done, and bad performance appraisal. You got a 2, or whatever the low number is going to be on the performance appraisal. Here's where you have to do something that a lot of people have great difficulty with, and that is you need to write a rebuttal. And again, I'm sorry, I'm going to be just like my slides. Mr. Spock, live long and prosper. And you're going to live long and prosper if you write a rebuttal. You cannot accept the negative performance appraisal that is just sitting down if it's unfair and if it's wrong. You can't. Why? Because that's like saying, I totally agree with you. You're right. If you don't say anything, I totally agree with you. Again, it's like salary offers. It's like, if you accept it, well, then that's what I'm worth, and that's what it's going to be like when we do a salary review later on. I'm not going to argue with you, and therefore you can get away with anything. So you need to write a very, very logical, objective rebuttal. It's going to go into your files, or sometimes you have to sign something. Well, you're not going to sign it because you're going to write the rebuttal. Very fact-based, very, very detailed, very concrete, outlining it and saying that you disagree with it. And that's it. But you're not going to sign what they said. This is a rebuttal. There are legal ramifications of rebuttals. An attorney that I know, an employment attorney, by the way, if you're ever needing an employment attorney, use only attorneys who only do employment and only do it for the person who has the issue, not for the company. You don't like the person who does both sides. And this guy, his name is Alan Sklover. You look him up, Google him. He's got a phenomenal amount of stuff online that you can use. He has a list of reasons why you need to do a rebuttal and what are the ramifications of doing a rebuttal and maybe possible negatives about it. But the major thing about it is just what I said. No rebuttal means acquiescence to the performance appraisal. And then we have a good 10 or 8 reasons, somewhere in that vicinity, reasons about why you have to do it and what could be a problem. I'll tell you one thing that people worry about. They worry about that future employers will have access to it. No, they won't. They don't have any access to any of your human resource files. As a matter of fact, the only thing they have access to is your dates of employment. So to summarize, performance appraisals do not have to be so terrifying from either side. It's a good way to do it for the manager and a very logical, unemotional, fact-based way of responding to it. Will it always work? No. Your boss may hate you. Your boss may want to do a downsizing and justify it so they don't have to give you a severance. Who knows? I've heard every imaginable sequence. But we want to make it work well for you.